There was a time when the night didn't belong to just one person. There was a fire that burned in the middle, and those that could see in the dark stayed by the fire. They were the sensitive ones. They could feel the shifts before they even happened. They were the ones who walked the edges. Difference back then wasn't diagnosed, it was positioned. And somewhere along the way, we've forgotten collectively how to hold the world together. It was our deep thinkers that kept the stories alive. It was the sensitive ones who felt the turn in the weather. The hyper-focused ones tracked what others had missed. No one asked them to tone it down. It was just part of the structure. Later, there were villages. Not perfect, not dreamy, but shared. Kids ran between houses, and if you scraped your knee, someone was there to clean it up for you and see you on your way. If you pushed too far, someone else's mum would come in and steady you down again. You didn't belong to one overwhelmed nervous system. You belonged to many. You belonged to a field of adults. But then the circle tightened. We moved indoors. Smaller homes, less gardens, more time at work. We were pushed into fluorescent lighting and vast productivity that meant more than our own nervous systems. Our front steps emptied. Our little community of parents looking out for each other's kids disappeared. We got faster cars. We got faster working hours. We began comparing ourselves to who lived next door and what they had and what they'd achieved. And did we have the same? And in the midst of that, parenting got really private. Parenting became measured, judged, combative, commented on. Instead of raising our children together, we started evaluating mothers on their abilities, on what they were feeding their children, on how much screen time they had, on how much access to the outside world they had, forgetting all along that we'd all been forced into these new, rigid structures. And if you're neurodivergent, you've been feeling this for a long time, maybe even before you could articulate it yourself, certainly before articles were written on it. We felt it. Something didn't sit right. We feel the systems before they're named. We feel unfairness before it's acknowledged. We feel the rupture before it becomes policy. So when the village became thinned out, you, my friend, felt it first. You felt it first because you were always traversing a life with too many sounds, too many lights, too many unspoken rules that were hypocritical. They didn't make sense. You were already decoding rooms from the minute you stepped into one. Already adjusting your tone, already working harder than anybody else realised you were. And now you're raising children in that same landscape, and that weight has doubled. You are now their advocate. You are their regulator. And alongside doing that, you have to regulate yourself. You're the calm voice in a meeting that you don't want to be in, but you know needs to be done. You're the person who walked to the car crying afterwards. You are translating a world that doesn't make sense to you, to your children. You are holding all of the emotional weather that comes with parenting and then with neurodivergence. And here's the quiet truth beneath it all. You're not failing. You are one pair of hands holding many, many pairs of hands work. You are just one nervous system, not many. Some of us don't just miss the village. Some of us never fitted into the village. The village was always too loud, too judgmental, full of hierarchy, thick with unspoken rules and sideways glances. For many ND adults, community meant masking. It meant hiding who you were to try and fit in, smiling when you were overwhelmed, having patience when you had none, naming the fact that you wore a mask before anybody had told you what masking really meant. So when someone like me comes along and says, "We need our village back," you might flinch. In fact, I flinched too. Because what if that village was never built for our nervous systems? What if the problem isn't that you're alone? It's that most spaces are still asking you to shrink to fit into them. The old stories tell us our differences had a purpose, and they still do. The parent who can sit up all night hyper-focusing on filling in that form for their kid is not obsessive, they are devoted. The parent who cannot let injustice slide is not difficult, they are wired for protection. And the parent who can feel their child's overwhelm before it spills out, well, you're not too sensitive, you're attuned. And the parent who can spot a burnout coming months before it even happens is not dramatic. You are very perceptive. These are the ancient roles in modern clothing. But strength without sharing becomes strain when you're the only hearth, the only boundary, the only safe space. Love becomes heavy, and not because you love wrong. A real village doesn't demand masking. It allows quiet, it allows leaving early, it allows direct words without tone policing. It allows bad days without over-explaining. It doesn't score your consistency, and it certainly doesn't measure your eye contact. Maybe the new village that we need isn't around a bonfire. It's smaller, it's quieter, it's much more intentional. Maybe it's two nervous systems sitting at a table together. Maybe it's having space to say that today was really hard. It doesn't need fixing. You just need to be held. It's a space where no one needs to translate themselves to belong. They just do. You were never meant to watch the bonfire alone by yourself. And you were never meant to regulate every storm alone. If you're feeling tired in your bones, it is not a weakness. It's love without shelter. And if something about modern day parenting has slowly felt more uncomfortable in your skin, you're not being dramatic. We're feeling it too. We might not be able to recreate the old villages where we are right now, but we could certainly try and create something new. We could build something with softer lines and safer edges. We could gather in ways that honour our beautiful differences without sanding down the edges that just don't quite fit. Because if you've been carrying this boulder by yourself, it's okay to be exhausted. So come and sit down at the new hearth. The hearth doesn't die when the work is shared. In fact, it stokes the energy. And that's why I built the portal, because I needed a new village for me, for my friends, for you. And it's where you will be held. We're going to return to the old ways in a modern twist. We can grieve for the old system whilst building new ones. And we can promise ourselves to listen to our intuition, because we do, in fact, know how to build these things. And we each have strengths to bring to the table. Thank you so much for being here. Please do subscribe. Please let me know down in the comments how you feel about villages and what your ideal village would look like and sound like. Take care. See you next time. Bye.